I've been doing game development for about a year, and I really wanted to challenge myself and see what I could possibly make in 7 days. It was hard to come up with an idea, so I decided to make something inspired by Vampire Survivors. It's basically a game where you have to survive waves of enemies while your character automatically attacks. I started by setting a checklist of everything I'll be doing. Then I create our project. First we need a character, a ninja, because ninjas are cool and they have cool weapons like this shuriken, this katana, and whatever this is. I added some code and now we have our character working pretty fine. I said working pretty fine. Then I did some post-processing to add life to the game, and here's the result. Next step is enemies. I designed this zombie, this snake, and this exploding square inspired by this tiny little game you probably haven't heard of. I also add our weapon to the game and never mind. And now it's time to add enemies logic. And now we have this snake that shoots projectiles, this zombie that dashes toward the player, and this exploding square that explodes. And since everything is working fine, I guess it's time to take the test. 1000 enemies. After that, I got bored from coding, so I made some cool UI for the game and this main menu. And that's all for day 1. Okay, so we need more enemies, and that's why I made this golem, this lava golem, and also this eye that shoots laser. Then I wrote some scripts and so I fixed that and I did some work on the UI, and now everything is working. Later I designed 3 pickups, a magnet that collects XP when enemies die, this ice cube that frees enemies, and this cookie that returns your health. After that I designed some chests, a chest for stat buffs and a chest for gold. And I also wrote some codes for enemies to spawn XP. And here's what we got so far. I finally decided to work on useful stuff like enemy spawning system, leveling system, more weapons. And I started by enemy spawning system. It was a pain in the ass to make, as bugs apparently discovered the concept of reproduction. But eventually I made it. Or at least that's what I thought. And now each level has a certain number of waves, and each wave has its own start timer, end timer, enemies to spawn and frequency. The code is very scalable, and that will make it easier for me to make more levels, and I also added this losing menu. Then I moved into the leveling system. I added this little panel that appears whenever you level up, so you can choose between upgrading one of your current weapons or unlocking a completely new one, but it isn't working yet. And I also added some weapons. But I didn't have time to finish this leveling system, as it took me so much time to fix bugs, add new weapons, and I had to actually watch some game dev tutorials, and the code was a total mess, which made it so hard for me to read. So hopefully tomorrow we'll finish it. Okay, so this is day 4. The plan is to rewrite all codes related to the leveling system and do some changes on weapons, and somehow that worked. Then I used SFX to generate some sound effects and found this music in HU made by this cool guy and added it to our game. And I made this hit effect because watching the player getting damaged and nothing happens felt kinda weird. And add this death effect for our player and this one for enemies. Next step is pickups and chest spawning, and honestly that was the easiest thing I did today. I also did some balance changes, and here's what we got so far. now our level is missing one thing: a boss. I originally wanted to make a snake, but it was clearly a bad idea. So I made this thing, and it has 4 abilities. It shoots projectiles in all directions, it shoots bombs that explode and poison the player, it spawns units, and it shoots a spinning laser. So far, we basically had one playable level, but one isn't enough. So today we'll add 2 levels, and also deal with something I'd been ignoring for way too long: optimization. And the problem we currently have is creating and destroying way too many objects constantly. So I decided to use object pooling, which basically means... And now that the game was actually running properly, I could finally work on the levels. For the second level I made robots, because the robots are evil, changed the background and worked on the new enemies logic. And now we got new enemy types. This turret that has a big range and can't move. This robot that shoots in all directions. This robot very tanky but also very slow. I tested it and apparently I made it so hard. So I made enemies a bit weak, and now that's quite better. Next is level 3. I made some aliens with new abilities. This guy that spawns his babies when he dies. This enemy who freezes the player, a healer. And this rock that gets stronger the more damage it takes. And while testing the game, I discovered that there are way too many bugs. So I forgot to add bosses to the 2 levels we made, so I made this robot that has the same abilities as the first boss, and this alien that keeps splitting. And there was still a problem. The main menu. It looks fine, but it doesn't do anything, because I didn't write any scripts. So today I had to go back and actually make the whole thing work. I coded the buttons, connected the scenes and named the game, and I worked on the shop. The idea was that you can select a character, see all of their weapons and upgrade them before starting the game. So the player actually has a reason to keep playing and collecting gold. And now that all of that was working, it was finally time to fix bugs and find out if the game was actually balanced or not. So I played it, then I played it again and again, and yeah, there were some problems. A lot of problems. Some enemies were way too strong, some weapons were basically useless, and some upgrades made the game way too easy. So I played with numbers, and now the game was a little bit better. On the final day, I had to actually make sure that the game is playable and doesn't contain any bugs. First, I added the saving system so you don't lose your progress when quitting the game. Then I worked on achievements. I added only one cause I don't have time. Added the sound settings and fixed a few more bugs along the way. And after 7 days of coding, debugging, adding way too many features and questioning my life choices, the game is finally finished. Not totally finished, but it's playable.